Hollywood is known for its blockbuster hits, from record-breaking franchises to cult classics. But not every production is a success. In fact, some of the most ambitious and expensive projects have crashed and burned in ways no one saw coming. Today, we're diving into the biggest flops in entertainment history. From the lavish sets and high expectations to the shocking results, we'll explore why these projects flopped and what went so wrong. And it's not just Hollywood films. We'll look at canceled TV shows, infamous concerts, and even failed sports leagues that became textbook examples of what not to do in entertainment. These aren't just missteps. They're full-blown disasters that cost millions and, in some cases, changed the industry. So let's jump in and see what went wrong with some of the biggest flops in entertainment history. John Carter, the $250 million bomb. In 2012, Disney took a risk on John Carter, a sci-fi adventure based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' beloved 1912 novel, A Princess of Mars. Disney hoped this film would be the next big franchise, a series that could stand shoulder to shoulder with Star Wars and Avatar. With a budget of $250 million, the stakes were high, and Disney wasn't holding back. But from the start, there were issues. John Carter was packed with action, a sweeping storyline, and rich visuals. But it faced one major issue: the marketing. Disney's approach didn't clearly convey the plot or why audiences should care about John Carter's journey. The vague title didn't help either. It left potential viewers confused about the film's premise. Who was John Carter? Was he a soldier, an adventurer, or something else? These questions went unanswered, and the movie ultimately grossed only $284 million, barely covering its budget. In a world where branding and clear messaging are essential, John Carter fell short. It serves as a reminder that even a massive budget can't make up for weak marketing and a lack of clarity. John Carter wasn't just a flop, it was a costly lesson for Disney on the importance of branding. Cats, a musical misfire. The beloved musical Cats was brought to the big screen in 2019, boasting a star-studded cast including Taylor Swift, Judi Dench, and Idris Elba. With an estimated budget of $95 million, Universal Pictures was banking on the musical's long-standing fan base. However, the moment the first trailer was released, audiences were horrified. Instead of traditional costumes and makeup, the filmmakers used CGI to turn the actors into human-cat hybrids, a creative choice that didn't sit well with viewers. This digital fur technology created bizarre visuals that were neither fully realistic nor entirely cartoonish, landing in the unsettling territory of the uncanny valley. Critics and audiences alike found it creepy, and the negative reception was instant. Cats only grossed around $75 million, far below its budget. Universal Pictures even removed it from Oscar consideration, an unprecedented move that admitted the film's failure. It remains a cautionary tale about the risks of experimenting with beloved classics and the importance of knowing when to leave well enough alone. Heaven's Gate, the movie that bankrupted United Artists. In 1980, director Michael Cimino was at the peak of his career after winning an Academy Award for The Deer Hunter. His next project, Heaven's Gate, was supposed to be a grand Western epic that would redefine cinema, but Cimino's vision quickly spiraled out of control. Originally budgeted at $12 million, the cost ballooned to over $40 million due to Cimino's perfectionism and refusal to compromise. The film was delayed, scenes were reshot multiple times, and the massive sets took weeks to perfect. By the time Heaven's Gate was released, it had become one of the most expensive films in history. And when it hit theaters, it was a colossal failure. It made only $3.5 million at the box office, leading United Artists to declare bankruptcy soon after. The failure of Heaven's Gate reshaped Hollywood, pushing studios to take tighter control over director-driven projects. It's a lesson in how unchecked ambition and a lack of oversight can lead to financial ruin. The XFL when wrestling met football. In 2001, Vince McMahon, the mastermind behind WWE, attempted to shake up the football world by launching the XFL. Combining the theatrics of wrestling with the sport of football, the XFL promised a more intense, action-packed experience. The idea was intriguing, but the execution left much to be desired. The XFL lacked the high-level talent of the NFL, and the games themselves were often lackluster. While fans initially tuned in out of curiosity, viewership dropped dramatically as the novelty wore off. The XFL was canceled after just one season, costing McMahon and NBC a combined $35 million. Despite its failure, McMahon would try again years later, relaunching the XFL in 2020, though the second attempt was cut short due to the pandemic. The original XFL, however, stands as a reminder of the challenges involved in competing with an established industry giant like the NFL. Fyre Festival, a social media mirage. In 2017, the Fyre Festival was hyped as a luxury music festival on a private Bahamian island, offering gourmet meals, luxury tents, and performances from top artists. With promotional help from influencers and celebrities, the festival sold out fast, with guests paying thousands for an exclusive experience. But when attendees arrived, it was a nightmare. Instead of luxury, guests found FEMA tents, soggy cheese sandwiches, and no musical acts. The festival became a disaster, and the event's organizer, Billy McFarland, was eventually sentenced to prison for fraud. The Fyre Festival's failure was documented in multiple documentaries, illustrating the dark side of social media hype and empty promises. The Fyre Festival was a groundbreaking flop, revealing how influencer culture can be used to manipulate and deceive. It's a story of ambition without planning, and the failure resonated globally, cementing Fyre Festival as a symbol of false advertising. The Lone Ranger, a Western that cost a fortune. In 2013, Disney hoped to revive the Western genre with The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp as Tonto and Armie Hammer as the title character. Riding on the success of their Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Disney poured an enormous $250 million into this film, hoping for another massive hit. The film included elaborate sets, grand stunts, and jaw-dropping visuals. But despite Disney's best efforts, The Lone Ranger faced major issues from the start. From early on, The Lone Ranger struggled with delays and skyrocketing costs, but its biggest issue was the controversy surrounding Johnny Depp's casting as Tonto, a Native American character. This casting choice sparked backlash, leading many to boycott the film. Additionally, the movie's attempt to balance slapstick humor with darker themes left audiences confused. Ultimately, The Lone Ranger earned just $260 million, barely covering its massive budget and resulting in substantial losses for Disney. This marked one of the company's rare misfires, reminding the entertainment world that even the biggest studios can struggle when tackling outdated genres. Giggly, a romance that bombed spectacularly. In 2003, Gilly brought together two of the biggest names in Hollywood at the time, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, who were also dating off-screen. This romantic comedy aimed to capitalize on their high-profile relationship, but it quickly became one of the biggest flops in film history. The film was panned for its confusing plot, awkward dialogue, and lack of chemistry between its stars. Critics described it as nearly unwatchable, and audiences stayed away in droves. With a $75 million budget, Giggly grossed only $7.2 million, making it a colossal financial disaster. The failure of Giggly was so significant that it nearly ended both actors' careers at the time. It became a cultural punchline and is still referenced today as one of Hollywood's most infamous flops, showing how a star-studded cast is no guarantee of success. Battlefield Earth, a sci-fi disaster. In 2000, Battlefield Earth, based on a novel by L. Ron Hubbard, was released with John Travolta starring as the villain. Intended as a science fiction epic, it quickly gained a reputation as one of the worst films ever made. The plot was confusing, the special effects were poor, and the costumes and makeup made the characters look bizarre. Travolta, a devoted Scientologist, had hoped to turn Battlefield Earth into a multi-part franchise, but the film's reception dashed those dreams. Despite its $73 million budget, the film only grossed $29 million and was met with overwhelmingly negative reviews. Today, Battlefield Earth is widely regarded as a cautionary tale about letting personal beliefs steer major creative projects. Its failure serves as a reminder that even high-profile actors can't always save a misguided film. Fantasia 2000, Disney's ambitious animation that failed to take off. Back in 1999, Disney decided to revive the magic of its classic Fantasia with Fantasia 2000. Featuring breathtaking animation and a soundtrack performed by a full orchestra, it was an ambitious project aimed at both honoring the original film and showcasing Disney's mastery of animation. With segments like the Firebird Suite and Rhapsody in Blue, the artistry was undeniable. But despite these elements, Fantasia 2000 struggled to find an audience. The film's classical music segments, while impressive, had a limited appeal. Unlike Disney's story-driven films, Fantasia 2000 relied on abstract visuals and classical compositions that didn't resonate with mainstream audiences. Despite its $85 million budget, it only grossed around $90 million, a modest return at best. Fantasia 2000 serves as a reminder that high-quality artistry doesn't always equate to financial success. It remains a cult favorite among animation fans, but financially it was a disappointment for Disney. Waterworld, the film that drowned in its own ambition. Last on our list is Waterworld, an ambitious post-apocalyptic film released in 1995. Starring Kevin Costner, Waterworld was set in a future where Earth is covered in water and humans struggle to survive. The film's massive $175 million budget was unprecedented for the time, fueled by Costner's star power and elaborate sets built on the ocean itself. Filming on the water proved incredibly difficult, leading to multiple delays, safety issues, and skyrocketing costs. The set was even destroyed by a hurricane at one point, forcing costly rebuilds. When Waterworld finally hit theaters, it only grossed $264 million worldwide, covering its costs but falling far short of expectations. Waterworld has since gained a cult following, but at its release it was seen as a monumental disappointment. It stands as an example of how ambition without proper planning can sink even the grandest of projects. From over-budget productions to poor creative choices and marketing missteps, the biggest flops in entertainment history reveal how even the best-laid plans can go awry. Each of these projects serves as a unique lesson in the risks and challenges of the entertainment world. Whether it's a failed Western, a disastrous concert, or a misguided sci-fi epic, these stories remind us that sometimes it's the mistakes that leave the biggest impact. And as we look back on these cautionary tales, it really makes you wonder, what future projects might follow the same path? If you enjoyed this deep dive, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this.